My name is Roberto. I am a Chicano. I live in the barrio. I have a Spanish surname and I speak Spanish and English. My grandparents think of me as a Mexican. My teachers and parents think of me as a Mexican American. Some of my friends call me La Raza or the Chicano. Sometimes I don't know what to think. Manuel is a good vato. He plans to drop out of school to go to work so that he can get money to marry his girl. Armando will also drop out of school soon because he must help his father support his 8 younger brothers and sisters. He has a job as a delivery boy. Antonio earns money by selling pot, and he hopes to join a Chicano gang that's been very powerful in the barrio. He has been in trouble with the police, and he'll probably end up in jail if he doesn't stop trying to be a pusher. These Chicanos were some of my best friends until they dropped out of school. They say they were only Mexicans and the Anglos looked down on them. Many of them think they were kicked out or just pushed out of school by insensitive teachers and poor administrators. That's the Brown Beret headquarters. They're one of the most militant Chicano groups. They want me to join, but I already belong to an organization. We formed our own chapter and meet occasionally. What is going to happen to our brothers and sisters? And what about me in a hostile Anglo environment? Why do I have to live in poverty as a second-class citizen? And why do Anglos say my culture background isn't good enough?
Stop right there, Roberto. You are not a second-class citizen, and you are definitely not culturally deprived. You have every reason to be proud of your people and your great Mexican heritage. Your ancestors were amazing people. Cultural milestones were set by the Mayas, Aztecs, and Toltecs many hundreds of years ago, leaving their imprint of greatness on the people of Mexico. 20-ton masterpieces of sculptures of some of their gods. Tlaloc, god of rain. A temple dedicated to the god Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, traceable through much of Indian history. Not far from Mexico's capital are the impressive archaeological sites of Teotihuacan, a center of civilization and culture about 2,000 years ago, at a time when most of Europe was stumbling through the dawn of history. The temples, burial grounds, and palaces are flanked by 2 pyramids. The smaller one, the Pyramid of the Moon. The gigantic structure is the Pyramid of the Sun. The pyramid builders of that time combined their colossal vision with the attention to minute detail. The Pyramid of the Sun, which courageously reaches up to touch the clouds, looks down on walls of temples and palaces where every small polished stone is assigned to its place. Millions of tiny building blocks put together with care and precision within the framework of great concept and scope. Teotihuacan, not far from today's Mexico City, one of the proudest chapters of human history. Your history, Roberto. The Aztec calendar is among the most unique and remarkable intellectual achievements of early human history. To achieve their extraordinary astronomical calculations, they used the Mayan numbering system, which worked perfectly for them. Their basic counting unit was 20, compared to our way of figuring, which is based on 10. They used a pictorial writing system very similar to our present-day comic strip to record history. The Aztec knowledge of plants and herbs, especially medicinal types, was the most advanced in the world. They built great cities and engineered aqueducts. Early in the 14th century, they built on a 7,000-foot high plateau, Tenochtitlan, placing the city in the middle of a lake. It became the center of the Aztec world and expanded through the centuries. Today, known as La Ciudad de Mexico, or Mexico City, it is a great sprawling metropolis of 7.5 million inhabitants. Next to historical sites, new modern buildings scrape the skies. The city is the center of Mexico's culture and the location of one of the most important centers of learning in Latin America, La Universidad de Mexico, the University of Mexico. Winning freedom from Spain early in the 19th century, Mexico went through a period of fierce and almost continual turmoil as the people fought against those who sought to again enslave them. Brave and selfless men performed heroic deeds to match any in history. Don Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla, known as the George Washington of Mexico, was a parish priest from the pueblo of Dolores. He inspired and led the Mexicans to revolt against Spain at the cost of his life. The Statue of Independence in Mexico City commemorates his feats. After Father Hidalgo's execution, another parish priest, Don José María Morelos y Pavón, carried on the struggle of Mexico's independence. At times, he had his headquarters in this building. Later, Don Benito Juárez, a Zapoteca Indian, who inspired the Mexican Constitution of 1857, was elected president of his country. The revolution started in 1810 by Father Hidalgo, was continued in 1910 by Francisco Madero. The flamboyant Pancho Villa was another key figure of the revolution. His daring exploits caught the imagination of the peons who made up his trusting following. The same battle was fought by the great Indian humanitarian and hero of the revolution, Emiliano Zapata. These great men and others brought Mexico into the family of great nations. Modern-day defenders of Mexico's constitution and the rights of the people have been great presidents like Don Gustavo Díaz Ordaz and Don Luis Esteban Echeverría.
But that's in Mexico, and those are Mexicans. I'm an American, a Chicano here living in the United States. How does the Mexican past relate to me now?
Your destiny is linked to your heritage. I'll try to show you. Look at this map, Roberto. When Mexico was known as Nueva España, or New Spain, this territory was Spanish. Your people settled in Santa Fe 22 years before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. Juan Batista de Anza, accompanied by Father Junipero Serra, the founder of missions, made their way north from San Diego along the Camino Real, the King's Highway, and founded in 1776 the city of San Francisco, then known as Yerba Buena. At that time, the 13 colonies were a very small part of the North American continent. Both countries expanded and New Spain reached her furthest limits. Later, after New Spain became Mexico, the new country began to lose some of its territory to the United States. In 1836, Texas declared her independence. And the Americans in California, too, wanted to become part of the United States. The Mexican-American War ended in 1848 with the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. And almost one half of the Mexican territory was ceded to the United States. A few years later, the Gadsden Treaty and Purchase was negotiated. As a result of all this, you and your people became Americans long before there were any Anglos in these areas, cultivating the wild land and living in ranchos like this. So, when the wagon trains rolled west, the new settlers found a successful agriculture developed by the Mexicans who had been here for many, many years. The newcomers adopted many of these ways of dry farming, irrigation, and cattle and sheep raising. Since those early years, more and more Mexicans have been coming to this land. Nearly 2 million between 1910 and 1960. Today, in the Southwest alone, there are approximately 10 million Mexican Americans. But Mexican Americans are in every state of the Union, contributing their culture and their talents to our country. Take your beautiful language. Many words are now part of the English we use every day. Chocolate, maize, tomato, patio, rodeo, corral, fiesta, plaza, tobacco, and many more. Wouldn't it be strange to refer to San Antonio as St. Anthony? And to the Grand Canyon as the Big Valley? The influence of Mexican art is very great. Mexican pottery is extremely popular. Mexican jewelry has its own distinction. Mexican handicrafts are eagerly sought after. Mexican food is served in almost every city of this country. Mexican music is heard and enjoyed in every land. The impact of Mexican culture and architecture is very strong in some parts of the country. States, cities, and all manner of places and institutions have Spanish names.
Those are just words and names. They don't mean anything. It's the people, the Chicanos, that don't have a chance here.
Oh, no, you're wrong, Roberto. There is almost no field of endeavor in which Chicanos are not successful. There is no field in which they have not made a significant contribution. Look around you. In the field of athletics, Mexican Americans have won many championships and many honors. Boxing, Mando Ramos. Pancho Gonzalez, probably the greatest tennis player of all times. Baseball, Jose Peña. Golf, Lee Trevino. This Mexican-American football player, Jim Plunkett. Well, not all Chicanos are named Gonzalez. Jim Plunkett, playing for Stanford University. An ever-increasing number of Mexican-American educators are making their influence felt. Dr. Julian Nava is president of the Board of Education of Los Angeles, one of the largest school systems in the country. Dr. Hilario Peña is a school principal in the same area. The consultant for Mexican-American studies is Professor Alex Trejo. Judges of Mexican-American descent are administering the law of the land. Judge Carlos Terán of the Los Angeles Superior Court is just one example. late Rubén Salazar was an award-winning journalist, columnist, and television news editor. He devoted a great deal of his time to the cause of Mexican Americans. A nationally known labor leader is Cesar Chavez, head of the United Farm Workers Union. There is another area in which your people have won this country's proud recognition. High on the list of war heroes rank Mexican Americans who have been awarded our nation's highest decoration, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Master Sergeant Cleto Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Macario Garcia, Sergeant Jose Lopez, Private First Class Jose Valdez, Sergeant Alfredo Gonzalez, Marines, Lance Corporal Jose Jimenez, Private First Class Eugene Obregon. A continuous battle to aid in the cause of minorities is waged in Washington, D.C. The former Interagency Committee on Mexican-American Affairs was elevated to the Cabinet Committee on Opportunity for the Spanish-Speaking, functioning under the chairmanship of Martin Castillo. His executive directors, Henry Quevedo and John Barreño. Carlos Conde is communications director. Armando Rodriguez and Ramon Merlos of the United States Office of Education. Ray Carrasco, regional director for the Office of Housing and Urban Development, are other highly placed Mexican Americans in the federal government. Here in the nation's capital serve United States congressmen such as Henry Gonzalez from Texas, Kika de la Garza from the same state, Ed Roybal from California, and others. The contributions of Mexican Americans to the world of entertainment are well known. Musically, we all enjoy the performances of Lalo Guerrero, Vicky Carr, Trini Lopez, and many more. In the world of the screen, there are such great stars as Anthony Quinn, here in one of his unforgettable roles. Ricardo Montalban, one of the... Oh no, I'm not going to tell you what it says here, but in any event, here I am. Ned Romero launched in a successful television career. More and more of the Chicano actors turn away from the bandido roles and play in parts that reflect the times we live in. And just a few miles from the Hollywood studios stands a cross to mark a historical event. Here in 1781 was established the Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de los Ángeles, the town of Our Lady of the Angels. Blessed by a good location and favorable climate, the Pueblo expanded rapidly. Today, Los Angeles has more people of Mexican background than any city in the world, with the exception of Mexico City. Los Angeles is proud of its Mexican history and shows it by restoring the original plaza. You Mexican Americans are prominent in almost every phase of the life of America. You have enriched our society and our culture. Each year, more and more of you enter them and become linked with its destiny. You have always been a proud people. And as your history shows, you have a right to that pride.